Shall we start? Good evening, everyone. Please mute your phones so we don't disturb the speakers today. Today it's a great day. It's a celebration day. It's a special day because of two things. First one, this is our first meeting of this year. The second one is because more than 5 years ago we started our activities within PMI, creating the club, and in June it will be our 5th anniversary. So it's time for celebration, isn't it? This is our agenda for today. If you refer to PMI, PMI says that one project manager usually spends up to 90% of his time communicating. This is the reason we decided to create a Toastmasters club. But it's not just about communication, it's also about leadership. And regarding leadership, I was reading the Toastmasters magazine during the weekend, and I saw something written by Deepak Menon, Toastmasters International President, who says, I'm sorry, I'm old. The art of managing people and resources is the biggest challenge leaders face. Toastmasters is the laboratory that produces leaders who practice and perfect these skills. It's about managing people and resources. And certainly this is what project managers do. So, by the way, hey! Guy, you look like this one.
Somewhat resembling. He's a twin.
Honestly, are you Mr. Deepak Menon?
Let me check.
Okay, so welcome, Mr. Deepak Menon, International President of Toastmasters. Thank you for coming. So, as project managers, we must be ready for any kind of contingency. So, let's change the agenda. Now, new agenda, and let's get ready for the meeting. So, it's a special occasion. So, in my special occasions, I usually do this. Allow me a couple of seconds, please. Okay. This is to get dressed for success. Okay? So, this is contingency, being ready for whatever happens. So let me start with some words. Probably you won't understand this, as I will, but Namaskar और हमारे क्लब में आपका स्वागत है दीपक मेनन. आज हमारे साथ आपकी उपस्थिति अनेक समय के बाद है. Nobody understood anything. Mr. Menon didn't understand. But it's not my fault, it's Google's fault. Okay, so let's start from scratch again. So welcome everyone to this special meeting. Today we have with us Mr. Deepak Menon. We have a guest speaker, and we are just organizing it right now. This is an improvising meeting, so I don't know what it is about. But I see there are many guests today. I'm not asking you to introduce yourselves because it will take much time. I will introduce people one by one according to their speeches or their deliveries. But anyway, I'd like to thank you, Alex, for coming in the name of Nova. Nova is the club where some of us started. Nova also provided us some support when we started as a club, so thank you for coming. Thank you, Board of Directors, PMI Board of Directors, for coming here, for your support. Thank you, Jose Maria, for coming as a guest. Thank you, Mr. Menon, for coming. Thank you, Ninfa, for arriving late. And okay, let's start. As I don't know what to do now, I'm going to introduce someone. I'm going to introduce Pablo Garcia. I met him for the first time in 2016. It was the Mad, Fun and Sun Fall District Conference. We were working there as volunteers. And I realized that he is a very collaborative and supportive person. And today, as the division director, he's providing us support and helping us improve as a club. So let's welcome Mr. Pablo Garcia.
I'm sorry, but as this is improvised, I have nothing prepared. No, just kidding. I remember perfectly that moment. When I met Joaquin, I arrived to that Mad Fun and Sun district conference, something that I didn't know what it was. And I kind of had an idea because I just came from the division conference. And he was also very supportive. I realized that people there were helping each other and were growing together and collaborating to make something great, which was the Madrid Fun and Sun District Conference 2016 or 17?
16.
It's already...
According to my notes, 16.
16. In my mind it was 17, so that's good. That's good that it's already passing by. And since then, I have had the privilege to believe and to belong to this family that we are all together. Alex not only coming for Nova, also he's the representative of Airbus Toastmasters Club.
That's true.
Who will try to reshape. And hello, please, Alberto, and I don't know you. You can take a And since the moment I mentioned to the current committee officers of PMI that Deepak was offering himself to come here and to visit our clubs and to provide workshops, keynotes, whatever we needed, we had these officers very involved from the beginning. It has been tough to organize some of the stuff because we had some contingencies, but as project managers you act perfectly. And today we are glad that we can hold this session. I'm really looking forward to see what we are going to have also with Chema that I had the pleasure to meet just today. But I would also like to mention what you just read from Deepak's word in the magazine. It is about leadership. And leadership is not only communicating, it is not only leadership, it's what we gain out of it and how we move people and how we create projects and we create ideas. And I believe this is the essence of Toastmasters. So I hope you enjoy. I would like also to say thank you for the board of directors of PMI because this is one of the oldest corporate clubs here in Madrid. And this year is really growing from, I would say, from like a phoenix, because they were like kind of diluting, and now they are coming back strong and with very committed members, and this is what we all need to grow bigger this year. So now, looking forward to see what happens, and I like your outfit, by the way.
Thank you very much, Pablo. So what are we doing now? We are going to listen to Mr. José María Palomares. José María Palomares is the Director of Communication at the Mutua de la Abogacía. I can't translate Mutua de la Abogacía, I don't know what it is. A national company, let's say. And he's going to tell us about how to involve employees in public relationship. So, whenever you want.
Thank you. Start saying, well, congratulations for your 5th anniversary. I'm not going to sing the happy birthday song, but well, I think it's a good atmosphere here today. I'm not sure what you are expecting from me today, but I'm going to try to explain some concepts that are very connected with the communication and also with leadership that I think is the thing that you are going to address in the most important speech today, which is going to be the next one. So, what I'm going to talk is about communications. I'm going to talk about the power of communication and the power of people, and how to involve the people in the company, in the PR, in the public relations strategy. I would like to discover to you the power of connecting people, conversations, and also social media to boost the positioning of companies and brands. So let's start by the beginning. I assume you can, well, recognize these kind of situations in a company. We can see, well, conversation in the social media about a complaint of someone who is having a problem in a flight with a flight company, let's say JetBlue. We can see also some recommendations in the LinkedIn, in a personal profile, where someone is recommending someone else for posting a job. Also, we can have some kind of comments around TripAdvisor, talking about what a person is thinking about the service he has had in a hotel. Or even we can see all kind of situation where we can say we are okay with the service or not with a company. So there are plenty of conversation about around you and also around your company. But this means that we are living in a conversation age. If we put a little bit of attention about what really matters in a company, we will see that everything is related with conversations. In every single company I've been working in, please come in, you're welcome. Hello. So I was saying that every single thing that matters in companies and brands is very deeply connected with conversations. Let's have a look to some word expressions we are using on a daily basis in our companies. We talk about customer experience, we talk about recommendation. Have you ever heard the net promoting score in companies, which is about how, to what extent our customers are open to recommend our company. When we talk about satisfaction, customer satisfaction or employee engagement, well, at the end of the day, in fact, we are talking about conversations, which are conversations mainly between our employees, the employees of the company, and external stakeholders. It is a connection, a deep connection among these stakeholders. But let me stop for a couple of minutes in the concept of reputation. Reputation is probably the most difficult part of all this argumentation. Reputation is the core of the strategy of the organizations. If you want to attract a new customer, you have to be very well reputed. It is the same when you are posting personally or applying to a new job. You have to be very careful with your reputation, and you have to build that to have a good result. Today, more than 83% of companies think they compete in the reputation economy. This means that today, what you are and how you are perceived matters more than what you produce. This is something we are living in these times. So, which are the ingredients of reputations? And this can be applied for a company, but also for a personal reputation. So just think yourself in your personal reputation. Your personal reputation or your company's reputation is made of mainly of 3 different ingredients. And we are going to have a look to them. The first one is the direct experience. So my reputation today to you, in relation to you, is mainly driven by the direct experience you are having with me. Because most of you didn't know me. The only person that knew me previously was Madrid, right? So direct experience is one of the most important ingredients for building reputation. If we think in terms of a corporate world, in a corporate environment, this direct experience can, well, be done through the products that you are selling to your customer, through the customer service. Imagine all these opportunities that you have connected to the customer service or the customer desk in a company. If you remember, your experience defined to some point the kind of reputation this company is going to have for you from this very moment. Investment or employment can be also direct experience that you can have. The second ingredient you have when you are building up your reputation is the coherence between what you do and what you say you do. This means that if you oversell in your corporate communications in a company and you say you are really good, but the normal behavior of your company and the normal experience for your customer is not so good, obviously you are producing a lack of confidence. You are producing a gap that at the end of the day is converted into a lack of confidence, right? The third one, well, obviously we promote this specific ingredient through the branding, the advertising, the PR, which is, by the way, what we are talking about today, and the CSR, just to put you some examples. The third ingredient of reputation is what others say about you. So for me, if I have to decide which, let's say, business school I want to study in, and I have here, we are now today in the Hostelea School of Tourism and Hospitality, right? If I have to decide if I want to study in this institution, the first thing I'm going to do is to find people who knows this institution and ask them, what do you think about it? Probably I will have a mix of opinions, a mix of feelings about it, and I will have an idea about the reputation that this institution is going to have for me. If you think of that, the three kind of ingredients of the reputations are at the end also conversation. So we are talking all the time about conversations. So yes, it is in this way. The most credible form of advertising comes straight from the people we know and trust. This is something we do on a daily basis, not only as consumers, but also as citizens. Even when we have to go to vote to a political party, the opinion of the people that we have closer, it is very important when we are going to make a decision. We have a very interesting result of this research from Nielsen Global Trust. They say that most of the people, the majority of people, trust the recommendations of friends and family. This is something obvious, but here we have a number, a very relevant number, that supports this affirmation. So word of mouth is the new PR, and I have to say that is also the new marketing. And this is where all the main companies, the consumer perspective, are investing in word of mouth PR and marketing. We have plenty of new numbers that can support this thing. For example, we have a very interesting research coming from HubSpot that say that 90% of people trust suggestions from family and friends, which is very related to the previous testimonial I delivered to you. But we have many other numbers that support this thing. And why is this so important? This is very important because companies today need to build trust. They need trust from the different stakeholders, and specifically from customers. And they need this trust, to build this trust, because they have to improve their performance. If we think in terms of business performance, they need to attract new customers, and they do it mainly through their reputation. They have also to attract the best talent as possible. And we know very well that some specific industries and some specific sectors are having plenty of problems to attract the best talent. And only the best reputed companies can afford to attract this best talent. This guy, I'm sorry because you cannot read the name of the guy, is a vice president, a senior vice president from a very relevant multinational company. And he says that reputation is critical to everything in our business. It influences strategy and the business benefits that go with it. So reputation is a key driver in today's business. So if we really understand the power of reputation, and we really understand to what extent conversations are around our company and around our brands, why don't taking advantage of the full power of people on social media to really reach all potential customers and consumers of our company? If we have a look to this slide, we can see the multiplying power of having a good brand ambassadors network. the relationship your employees have with their networks are stronger than any relationship that people in your network may have with your brand. So let's take advantage of the full power of people and also social media. And this is about conversation company. And there's something additional I want to share with you, which is very relevant, by the way. And that is that majority of people needs to hear company information between 3 and 5 times to really believe the message, the company message. So we need the power of the multiplying of the people, the power of multiplication of the people. And how to do it? So how can we engage our employees into our PR strategy or even into our marketing strategy? There are a few, let's say, tips that we can follow to do so. The first one is taking into account the most important thing in a conversation. Well, let's say the most important thing in a conversation is people, right? We need someone who talks and someone who listens. But we need something to talk about, and this is contents, right? Relevant contents. So we as a company, we as a senior leaders of a company need to develop relevant contents, but not only relevant contents for the company, but also for the employees. So we need to find contents who are relevant for our strategy, but also for the conversations that we expect our employees to deliver, right? Second point, we need to provide transparency. So we need to explain to our employees what we are doing with this purpose. So providing clear rules and guidelines will help very much to really understand what we are going to do all together. The third question is leading by example. We cannot ask our employees to do something that the senior leadership of the company is not open to do it. Today, well, probably in the last weeks, you have seen, I mean, for the Spanish-speaking people, probably you will remember, what Ana Botín, which is the chairwoman of one of the most important European banks, is doing through social media and through television. She is explaining through her own personal experience the values of the company, and obviously she is sharing also the corporate messages through different social media profiles. She is doing so, for example, on Twitter, but she is always doing so in LinkedIn. This is a very good example of leading by example. If she starts to do so, probably there will be plenty of employees and other leaders in the bank who are open to do the same thing. In the previous life of this bank, the previous president of this bank obviously didn't do these kind of things, and what he was doing was provoking a culture where the employees didn't talk at all about the company cultures and the company messages. So in this occasion, we have seen that the senior leader has started to open to a new era. The fourth point I would like to share with you to do these kind of things is training on digital skills and mentoring. If we expect our employees to be the brand ambassadors of our company, obviously we have to provide the training, the training on digital skills to make sure that they do it in a right way, right? And of course, accompanying the people in the process of becoming brand ambassador. And finally, but I would say that this is the most important thing, we have to be prepared to answer the what's for me question. This must be done from a win-win approach. If we are asking our employees to be part of the PR strategy and be brand ambassador of our company, obviously the employees are expecting also something from our side. And what we can offer them is, number one, training on digital skills, as I have said before,
Number 2, visibility. Number 3, support. And what is more important, if you are well trained on digital skills and I'm providing you visibility, I'm also providing you middle term or in the long term a better employability. So we have to be brave enough to do so with our own employees. So let's come back to the content, which is the most important thing in the conversation, apart from the people. There are many examples of different content we can deliver and we can provide to our employees to boost the conversation we are trying to have for our brand, and to boost as well the reputation of our company. Well, I have defined 4 different chapters of kind of contents we can provide. The first one, and probably the most obvious, is the corporate communications, the corporate messages. We can provide the corporate messages to our employees, and we can ask them to share them in their personal social media profiles. This is the most obvious, but obviously in this case the employee is just let's say a media. He doesn't, the employees don't add any value to this communication. The second chapter, or the second kind of communications and contents we can develop, is around the customer service. This must be done very carefully. But at the very beginning, we can ask our employees to observe and to report any kind of situation that can be dangerous for our reputation, for the reputation of the brand, and report it to the customer service department, or even to the communications or whatever department that be in charge of dealing with that situations. The third part of the third kind of contents that we can provide is the commercial content, the typical marketing content. This is something that all the marketing departments would like to see in the social media profiles of our employees, but we have to take into account that the employees usually are not so open to share, because they probably don't feel very comfortable sharing commercial information. But we can go to the last one, which is, I would say, the most inspiring content for our employees, which is the informal content. All kinds of contents that our employees can develop by their own, talking about their own experience in the company, talking about their own experience with the brand, or talking about their field of expertise. You can have in any big company people with different expertises in different fields of knowledge. So we can, somehow ask these people to write and to share information in this area. So at the end, we can, if we do it in the right way and we do it well, we will find this virtual cycle. We will start by involving employees that generates also content that, obviously start to share and to spread the word, and finally generate conversations. If we do it in a proper way, we will find a way to involve more employees in every round. So to finalize this presentation, I would like you to share with you this figure coming from Stephen van Wellingen, which is the author of the Conversation Company. And he said that the connection of having a proud company from an internal point of view, where conversations with internal stakeholders provide an excellent employee experience, with having an excellent customer experience and an adored company from the customer perspective, will provide a conversation company. So, to end this presentation, just to recap, we are living in a conversation age, so conversations are around our companies. People are talking about our companies. We want to be part of these conversations to improve the reputation of our brand and also to grow our business. And if we want to be part of these conversations, thousands of conversations, it is very important to involve our employees. And if we want to involve our employees, we have to find a way to get the right engagement with them. For that reason, we have to address a win-win approach, giving them training, giving them visibility, giving them the mentoring that can be necessary, and we will get from them a good program of brand ambassadors. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jose Maria Palomares. Very interesting. If I look at this from, let's say, a wider point of view, it's about trust, it's about collaboration, about conversation within companies. But if we look at it on a wider point of view, it's also about organizations, proud organizations and admired organizations. And this kind of collaborations is what makes organizations improve, and it's what makes organizations collaborate to create bigger things, as this is the case. To go forward, let's say, I was reading last week a paper on project management, as usual, and I read something strange to me. It was said that a project manager must always walk the walk and talk the talk. And it was the first time I read such an expression, so I had to look it up on a dictionary, and I said, okay, I know what it is. Do you know what it is in Spanish? Obras son amores y no buena razón. Predicar con el ejemplo. Lo que dices lo haces. So this is what I read last week. And then, 2 minutes ago, when we rearranged our agenda, I realized that Mr. Deepak Menon is going to tell us about talk the walk and walk the talk, or the other way around. Walk the talk and talk the I don't know what. So I'm anxious to know what it's about. So please, let's welcome Mr. Deepak Menon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I change the presentation.
Buenas noches. I hope I pronounced it right. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
It's a wonderful time to be in Madrid because it's so cold here. I didn't expect it to be so cold. I thought Paris was cold. I thought Dijon was going to be colder. But I thought Madrid would be a time for me to remove all my woolens and enjoy life. But this is a city which has made me shiver from the time I came out of the aircraft. I don't know why you make it shiver, why you have it so cold here. But I'm going to provide some warmth now in this room by talking about leadership. Because leadership is a warm topic. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah.
How many of you feel that you already are leaders? Okay. Okay, there's still one or two who felt that they're not. Well, how many of you feel that you want to be great leaders? Excellent, everybody does. Fantastic. So we're going to be talking about in this session about what it takes to be a great leader. What are the attributes that are required to be a fabulous leader? And therefore, this is titled Walk the Talk, Talk the Walk, the essentials of leadership. And it's about the essential attributes that a leader must possess. And very interestingly, we heard from our Toastmaster about walk the walk, talk the talk. I've never heard of that expression before, honestly. But walk the talk, talk the walk. What does this indicate? What do you think this means? Walk the talk the walk. You know, this is going to be interactive. And I'm going to be asking you, and I want you to respond.
Say,
So
what
tell
you
me.
say what you think.
Say what you think.
Think what you say.
Think what you say. No, well, that's not the meaning of this expression.
Do what you say.
Walk the talk, talk the walk. Yeah.
Do what you say.
So say what you are going to do and do what you say. So basically your actions must be in alignment with what you speak. Right? That's what this expression is. And that's what good leadership is. Because a good leader demonstrates what they are preaching through their actions, through their behavior, through their attitude. Tell me, what do you think are the attributes of the best leader? I'm sure that you've seen great leaders around you, right? You've seen great leaders, and I'm sure you've seen very poor leaders as well. Have you seen poor leaders?
Yeah.
Have you seen more poor leaders or more great leaders? More poor leaders, right? So what do you think is missing in those poor leaders? What was lacking in those poor leaders that you found in poor leaders?
Trustworthy.
Not trustworthy?
Yeah, there's many of the politicians are they don't do as they say, so they are always lying.
Right. So they're lying. They're not really walking the talk and talking the walk. They're talking something and walking somewhere else, right? So they're not honest, they're not trustworthy, and consequently very poor leadership. What else? What else did you find made a leader poor?
Communication.
Communication? Poor communication? Yeah, that's right. Poor communication. That's what Toastmasters is for. To provide an opportunity for everybody to gain the required skills in communicating so that they can become better leaders. What else?
Leaders who don't listen.
They don't listen. Excellent. They don't listen. And why is it important to listen? As a good leader, why is it important to listen? Why?
Why? Because you don't have all the answers.
Mhm.
Of course, your team have more information than the information that you have. So this
Yeah.
is why, even though you could be Einstein, but Einstein didn't have all the responses. And today, nowadays, with this complexity, one person is not enough to make a decision.
Sure, you're absolutely right. We have just come out of a training program, the mid-year training that was offered to the district leaders from part of North America and all of Europe. And there was a session in that, do you remember what it was?
A session of which one?
One session about listening?
Candid conversations.
No.
That as well.
Active
listening.
active listening. Yeah, he's already forgotten.
The candid conversation, you have to use active
Well,
listening.
candid conversation, all right, but there was active listening, which was a separate session altogether.
Yeah.
So active listening was a topic that we spoke on for, I think it was almost a couple of hours
Yeah,
long,
2 hours.
about active listening and how active listening is very critical for a leader. And you are absolutely right about listening. And active listening is not just about the words that are spoken or heard, but it's also the non-verbal expressions that say a lot, that you need to be looking for and watching for. So that listening encompasses what a leader must be doing, and listening, in fact, is a part of communicating. So there are a variety of attributes that a leader must possess, but we're going to look at some of these, some that you've already spoken of, some perhaps which you have not, and there will be others which you feel a good leader must have that we're not going to be talking about today. So this is not all of the attributes of a good leader, but some of the essential attributes that I have picked out. Did you read this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you see what this picture is? It's somebody pushing people off the cliff, and it says it's the ultimate leadership training experience. Do you agree? Is it?
The question is, who is the leader?
Well, it's a leadership training experience, being pushed off a cliff, and then if they survive, they become good leaders. If they don't, well then they die, as all of us do one day. But the fact is, in Toastmasters, very often, this is what happens. This is how we start our leadership journey in Toastmasters, by falling off the cliff. I am sure that, Nacho, in your case, somebody must have come up to you and said, you have the potential to be a great leader. Why don't you become the president of your Toastmasters club?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And they came and sweet talked you into taking up the job when you didn't even know what your role was. Right? And that happens often in Toastmasters. I can speak about my own self. When I became the president of my Toastmasters club in New Delhi in 2003, I had been a member only for a very few months. And so I had absolutely no idea as to what the leadership really involved in a Toastmasters club. And it was May of 2003 when the club had its leadership committee, which was doing its prospecting, trying to figure out who they would want to nominate for various positions in the executive committee of the club, that I received a call. And I was not in New Delhi at that time, I was traveling. Incidentally, I'm from New Delhi, India, if some of you don't know about that. So now let me make it very clear that there will be references to New Delhi, because most of my experiences have been in New Delhi through my Toastmasters club and through my Toastmasters experience. So in New Delhi, in May of 2003, I was not in town and I was traveling, and I received a call from one of the members of the club leadership committee. At that time it was called the club nominating committee. And this person says, her name was Preeti, and Preeti says, Deepak, we had a discussion in the nominating committee, and we would like to ask you whether you would be willing to be nominated for the post of the club president. And I was actually flabbergasted, because I'd not even imagined that I could be considered for the post of president, because I had not held any leadership position in the club until then. So why was I being asked to be the president? I couldn't fathom. So I said, well, what does that entail? Well, it's a very easy job. You just have to be the president. Everybody else does the work. The president is just a figurehead. You know, you don't really have to do anything. So you just have to come to the club, start the club meeting, and everybody else does everything else. That's what it is. But I had my apprehension. I said, no, this can't be possible. So I said, well, you know, I'm a newbie. I'd rather start somewhere else and learn the ropes and then become the president. She said, no, don't worry. We will make sure that things will be easy for you. Because the rest of the executive committee will continue from what they were doing last year, they will continue this year. But for the president, we want you. I have absolutely no idea what they saw in me at that time, but they elected me the president of the club. 1 July 2003, the feeling was quite like that. When I was standing in front of my club in that first meeting, presiding as the president of the Toastmasters Club of New Delhi, I felt that I had actually taken that leap off that cliff, a sheer drop. I didn't know whether I was going to free fall and drop down, or whether there'd be a parachute that would appear and lift me back up. But things worked out. Things worked out because I gained confidence through this position that I held, through the program that Toastmasters offers, to develop my wings so that I could fly and I could deliver. And that's what happens, you know, when you deliver and when you gain the confidence, then you have the liberty to say such things. Everybody knows what team is, right? One of the definitions that most people quote is, together everyone achieves more. Well, this is what some people say, together everyone annoys me. Before I begin, I'd just like to make it known that I didn't volunteer to do this presentation. You know, this requires, to make the statement in front of an audience, really requires a lot of self-confidence. And one of the attributes of a good leader is confidence. Do you agree? That confidence is an essential attribute of a good leader. Without self-confidence, there can be no leadership. Why do you think confidence, self-confidence is important for a leader?
Trust, because otherwise people wouldn't trust you if you don't believe yourself. Why should other people believe you?
Absolutely. Yeah, you had something to say.
To be calm when everybody is not calm, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like an expedition to the North Pole or South Pole. So yeah, you have to try to keep everybody calm just to make things better.
Yeah. Can everybody hear her? So she said, well, if you're on the North Pole and you have a whole team of people following you, you have to remain calm, otherwise everybody else is going to get scared too. If they see the leader is fearful and nervous and doesn't know what to do, right? So if the leader is confident or at least portrays confidence, that helps the team because they feel more confident about what they're doing. And so self-confidence really becomes critical. But then self-confidence arises through what? Can you read that? We're only asking you to work 20 hours a week. To get that much done, you'll need to be here 80 hours a week. Does that sound all right? Isn't it weird kind of communication? And so communication and effective communication, clear communication is a fabulous attribute that a leader must possess. The art of communication is the language of leadership. Without being able to effectively communicate, articulate what you want to say to your team, you are not going to be able to instill any kind of confidence in them, let alone confidence in yourself. So you need to first develop the skill of communicating better and then communicate that to your team. If you are not going to be able to tell them what your plans are, what you're going to be doing, and how that is going to be implemented, how the team is going to be delegated their work, what will be the responsibilities of each person in your team, do you think you can be a successful leader? Can you? You can't, right? And so communication is the way that you can become a more effective leader. And that's what we teach in Toastmasters. That's how you begin your journey, by learning how to speak with confidence and learn how to be effective in communicating. How the hell do I tell them I haven't a clue where we are going? Have you seen leaders like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall in the ditch. That's what Jesus Christ said. That means leadership was a prerequisite even in the ancient times, in the times of Jesus Christ. And this goes back to knowledge. It goes back to having knowledge, having a repository of knowledge within the leader. If the leader is not knowledgeable, do you think they can be confident about what they are, about themselves? Can they communicate better? Can they communicate well? Can they impart that knowledge to their team? What do you say?
I said that the leader doesn't have to know it all, so the place of a leader is also to understand who is the person that can go forward at that particular moment.
Yeah, true. But they must have some rudimentary information, knowledge of that particular area as well. The fact is that the leader, in my opinion, must know all that they want their team to do. They cannot do it themselves, but they need the team to do it. And there will be people in the team who know better some of those aspects that need to be done, that need to be carried out. For instance, today, when we came into this room, the PowerPoint presentation had to be integrated. So my presentation and the presentation that was already here had to be integrated and brought in together. And I handed over my pen drive, and then there was some effort taken to bring it together. And then when it was done, we realized that there were some formatting problems. And Nacho immediately stepped up and said, well, you know what? I'm the expert here, I can do it. And he did something, and he did some magic, and something happened. And voila! We're now able to see the presentation. I couldn't have done it for nuts, honestly speaking. And so specialized knowledge was required to do that. And that's true, that you need to have people to have that specialized knowledge on your team, but the leader must also have the knowledge to be able to understand what is required to be done. Because if the leader is unable to provide that knowledge, they cannot be confident about what they're doing, and they are unable then to communicate effectively. So knowledge is critical. It took us 5 days to figure out how to finish our project 2 days early. That's why we're 3 days late. Another very critical attribute that a leader must possess is being a visionary. Every project, every mission that a club or a company or an entity has to start with has to begin with a vision. There must be a clarity of vision as to what is it that that organization is going to be doing. Do you agree about that? Do you agree that there must be clarity of vision? Because without the vision, there's no way in which you can put up a plan or make a plan about what you want to achieve at the end of the day. So a clear vision of what is going to be the outcome of what this team is going to be working on helps in ensuring that there will be a better plan and better outcome, and that there are more chances that you will succeed. So if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. There are many times in our Toastmasters clubs and in our districts where our leaders lack the vision. They have absolutely no idea as to why they're doing what they're doing. And they've never ever thought about that vision that they must see. And if they actually step back and figure out what should be that vision, it will then become easy for them to fulfill their responsibilities as leaders. Because without that vision, they're just going nowhere, and they're not going to be able to help any of their team members achieve the objectives for which they have taken on that responsibility. And so every team must have a vision which the leader must be able to communicate and articulate. Do as I say, not as I do. But you don't do anything. Exactly. Ever seen leaders like that? I think you said some of your politicians are like that, right? And so, this is what a leader must be. They must be a role model, they must be mentors, and they must be able to guide their team. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. That's what John Maxwell said. In fact, that's my favorite quote about leadership. A leader must know the way, go the way, and show the way. Because that's the only way that the leader can really be successful. If they have the knowledge and they're able to demonstrate that knowledge through their actions and thus lead the team to take the steps that are necessary to be successful, that's what a good leader is and can become. So everything must be in alignment. Talk the walk, walk the talk. That's another phrase that resonates with this particular quote. Miss Harper, get me somebody to blame. Ever seen things not being as successful as you anticipated? Ever seen failure? When you experience failure, what's the first thing that comes to the mind of the persons who have failed?
Who is to blame?
Who is to blame? Absolutely. We are never to blame. We've always got to find somebody else who can take the fall in our place, right? So we're looking for scapegoats. We're looking for the people whose neck can be in the noose. And so we need to find somebody to blame. And unfortunately, that's what happens many a times in leadership. That leaders do not want to take the fall. They'll find somebody in their team to blame. Whereas leadership is not about finding people to blame, but accepting responsibility. It's about empathy. You do not lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership. Have you seen leaders like that? Who are dictators, who like to beat people on their heads. If they don't do what they're asked to do, then they perhaps get rid of them. That's the kind of leaders that you have as well, the dictatorial types. But that's not leadership. And if you have a person like that as a leader in your team, you will find that most people will leave that team. They will not want to work with that leader. Do you know of any person like that? So that leader can never be successful. They'll be a one-man team. Nobody will be willing to work with them. They'll all leave, and consequently, it will be impossible for that leader to fulfill their responsibilities or achieve anything at all. So, empathy is critical. You need to be able to actively listen to the feelings and expressions of your team members, because that active listening will help you in understanding the needs of your members. Do you agree? Congratulations, you got a leader. Tell me, what do you think? Are leaders made or are leaders born? They're made. How many of you say leaders are made? Okay, 100% in this? No, not 100%. This gentleman says leaders are born.
I think that there is something in person that is natural.
Oh, natural.
And I think that you can improve skills, but you have to, you need have more from when you born, and it's possible that people can improve these skills.
Okay, so he says you must have a natural aptitude from the time you're born to be a leader, and only then can you actually enhance that skill. But you cannot become a leader because you were not born with that aptitude. Is that what you said? Well, the rest of you disagree, right? You say that leaders, everybody is a leader. In fact, everyone is a leader. It's just that we've not discovered those latent skills. And so we haven't taken to leadership. And one of the ways that you can become great leaders is again joining Toastmasters. Because that's what converts us from being followers to leaders. From being team members to becoming team leaders. I agree with you that there could be certain aptitude that you might possess based on your genes or some genetic preference that might be there, but it's not always the case. And I've seen that we've had, I'm sure even amongst politicians, that you see that the progeny of the best leaders have not been the ones who have been the best leaders themselves. So clearly, genes by themselves don't have that much magic that will make a person a leader, right? There was a time when the son of a king was made king, and so the dynasty would continue. But the dynasties also died because some of the ones who came after weren't able to justify their leadership, and thus they were ruined, right? So clearly, the fact that leaders are born is a myth, while leaders can really be made. But then beginning to be a leader requires that you first have the ability to lead yourself. Nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as what he does from day to day to lead himself. Why do you think it's important to be first a person who needs to lead yourself? How can you lead yourself? Anybody?
Becoming aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, becoming aware of your coherence or not, becoming aware of your values, of your vision, and then sharing it.
Sure, very good. So becoming aware of yourself, that self-awareness, and again, when we join Toastmasters, we get a whole lot of self-awareness that we've never had before, because so often when we're speaking to an audience, we're speaking about ourselves and about our experiences. When we start talking about it, we start introspecting and we start discovering things that we didn't even realize about ourselves that now become clear to us. But at the same time, we need to have clarity of our vision as to what is it that we are looking for, how is it that we are going to live our life, what is our ultimate goal, what are the objectives, how are we going to ensure that we're going to achieve those objectives, and we must have that clarity of vision as well for our own selves. Because unless we do that, we are not going to become effective leaders for others. How are we going to be able to advise others if we don't ourselves know what we're doing? And so, leading oneself is as critical an attribute for an effective leader, as leading others. In Toastmasters, we practice service leadership. To lead the people, walk behind them. So said Lao Tzu. And in Toastmasters, really, that's how we practice leadership. By being service providers, by being service leaders. And this is because we follow the core values that are instilled in us by Toastmasters. Do you in this room know the core values of Toastmasters? Other than the district director and the division director and the area director, all of you, the rest of you who are Toastmasters, do you know what are the core values of Toastmasters? Do you know that there are core values at all in Toastmasters? Okay, great. So let me tell you what those core values are. In fact, Nacho, you tell us what the core values are.
Integrity.
I think you better stand up and face the audience and tell them what.
Integrity, right? Respect, service, and excellence. And in that order.
Yep. Integrity is. Yeah, give them a big round of applause. Integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And interestingly, one of these four core values are the core values of PMI as well. Respect is one of the PMI core values. Do you know PMI has four core values too? Did you know? It's got four core values: responsibility, respect, honesty, and fairness. These are the core values of PMI. And Toastmasters' core values of integrity, respect, service, and excellence in some ways correspond, because honesty is more or less equal to integrity. And fairness, in my opinion, is somewhat akin to service. by serving others, we're being fair to everybody. And that fairness is reflected in how our members develop the skills that they join Toastmasters for. And service is the key, is the core to everything that we do in Toastmasters. And that's what a good leader must have the ability to do. To be self-effacing, to be able to lead others to glory and help them find their wings. So a leader builds more leaders, helps grow more leaders. That's what leadership is. And you need to be a risk taker. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That's a quote from Robert Frost. What do you think means by this? Why should a leader be a risk taker? Should a leader be a risk taker?
A smart risk taker. A smart risk taker.
A smart risk taker. Okay? Can you explain? What do you mean by a smart risk taker?
Yeah, I mean probably thinking of having some data that could give him or her the hint to actually take that path. To go off the beaten path because of an intuition, some data, something that is relevant for them. And those would be the smart risks.
Okay? So taking smart risks by having some information, but at the same time be willing to experiment, to explore, and thus create your own path and not necessarily go down the trodden paths. And unfortunately, that's what happens in a number of cases where our leaders rely on what's happened earlier and just continue forward in the same path without trying to figure out why, what was done in the past, whether it was right, whether it was wrong. If you're able to question what was there before you, you will be able to determine if that's the path that needs to be taken or not. And so then you can discover a path for yourself and in fact be much more successful than you've ever been in the past. Again, I quote Toastmasters, that there have been many Toastmasters districts, especially in North America, which have for years together not been successful. And the reason is because they're not risk takers. They've always been doing what had been done in the past and have not determined for themselves what is it that they can do differently because they're not willing to take the risk. If we continue to do all that we have done in the past and have not been successful, do you think we can be successful doing the same thing over and over again? Unlikely. You might just get lucky one day that it might suddenly work out, but unlikely that it would happen unless you're prepared to take a risk. So this is what makes a leader. Confidence in communication, vision and knowledge, being a role model, mentor and guide, having empathy, taking accountability, being responsible, being a servant leader, leading from the front as well as pushing people in front, and being a risk taker, and finally being willing to lead yourself. All of those are the attributes that make a leader. But there is one more attribute that I've kept right for the end, which is recognition and gratitude. When it's all over, at the end of the day, when your team has delivered, when it's done its work, when it's done everything that you asked of them, you must recognize them and you must thank them, because it's only then that they get the reward for all that they've done for you. In Toastmasters, what do you think is the recognition and reward that we receive when we do our job? That's right. Can we hear this a little louder, please? That's right, exactly. That's what everybody who achieves receives. That's the recognition that we receive in Toastmasters. And that makes people feel encouraged. That makes people feel empowered. and they want to come back because they're feeling energetic. So the first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The last is to say thank you. In between, the leader is a servant. Fellow Toastmasters, it's been wonderful talking to you about leadership, about the essentials of leadership, about the attributes that a leader must possess. I'm sure that henceforth you will be careful about what you do in your leadership journey. You will walk the talk and talk the walk.
So thank you very much, Mr. Menon. I feel a bit confused because I thought that our club president, Raúl Fernández, was a great leader, but he organized this meeting. He was told not to say anything to anyone. It had to be a surprise, and he organized this himself. So for me, he's supposed to be a great leader. But according to your words, a president does nothing. So he's not a great leader. Maybe he's a poor leader, or even an average leader. But also, if we come back to your presentation, he's a servant leader, he's a role model. So Raúl is a great leader. Maybe he doesn't know yet, but he is. So. Also, regarding leadership, I'm telling you a very, very short story. My mother-in-law is 97 years old. She's been living on her own until November. Then she had a heart attack and then a pneumonia. But she's recovering very well. These days, she's living with us. And on the weekend, yes, everything I tell has just happened. I have a very short time memory. So, the weekend I was trimming some of the trees I have, and she said, for the first time in her life, Joaquin, I'm sorry I can't help you because I'm tired. She's 97 years old. But then I went to a place, I can't tell you where it was, and when I came back from there, she was with the saw, cutting some branches, and I said, this is a leader. A person who is always doing something different. This person is specifically doing what you said. She's going on the road that people doesn't go. This is the reason she's a leader. And now to go on with our meeting, I have to look at the agenda. So it's Nacho Arenas who is saying something now. I don't know what. I met Nacho, it was around 9 or 10 years ago during Toastmasters training. And then he helped us setting us the club, and now he's the 107 district director, and he's still pushing forward to keep the organization better, healthier, and support all the clubs. And I don't know what he's going to tell, but you will find out in very, very short. So please, let's welcome you.
Why did you join Toastmasters? Don't say things.
To speak 1 hour of English.
To speak English. What else?
To enjoy speaking in public.
To enjoy speaking and not suffer speaking. What else?
Communicate better.
Communicate better? Why? Why else? What? That's it? Nothing else?
To improvise also.
To improvise?
Transfer some knowledge.
To?
Transfer some knowledge.
To get the skills to transfer the knowledge, right? So, to speak. Are you here still for the same reason?
To serve other people.
To serve other people. But you didn't join for that.
No. I didn't.
You discovered that.
Yeah,
because for that there are other organizations, right?
If it wasn't
that they
discovered.
sell it like that.
That's it.
Why are you here now?
Fun.
Fun?
Journey.
Meeting interesting people.
Meeting the people, right? The community part. Why else?
Networking. Networking.
Networking, especially in PMI, you're doing a lot of networking. Why else?
Because it's where leaders are made.
That's okay. And how? But what's in it for you? How are you? What's in it for you? I don't know you. So what is your role in the club? Are you doing anything?
Education, VP of education.
VP education. So you are a club officer.
Learning new things.
Learning new things, right? When I joined Toastmasters, I had an issue with public speaking in the company, and I said, okay, this is gonna be the last time. So let's get some skills. And as Deepak said, someone said, hey, why don't you the VP education? And that was my 3rd month. So now I came here for speaking. No, you come here and you organize the meetings. And that was 10 years ago, or 11. And if you see my thing, I remove it because when I go to district events, I don't like saying my awards. I've been 10 years in Toastmasters. I'm competent communicator only. No, I'm not distinguished Toastmasters, but I'm advanced leadership silver, and I could be twice advanced leadership silver. But competent communicator is I'm in my 16th speech, more or less. So I joined for speaking, but I stayed because of the leadership part. And when I was seeing today what you were saying about the people, the employees, I was not thinking about the employees, but I was thinking about the members, speaking about Toastmasters, and I then later on the speech about leadership and what a leader has to have. And I was trying to link that with what I'm preaching this year in the district, which is, what is your why? Why did you come today with as cold as it is here to see a couple of speeches from a guy coming from India? Why? Right? And there is more than that. I mean, you are not learning public speaking today, are you? I mean, he speaks good, but and he does as well, but I mean, we are just seeing speeches. We can play TED on TV and they speak better, right? So why are we here? We are for the networking, we are for the people. That was my first thing as well. After soon I was like, this is my people, this is my tribe. But later on I start working more and more for my tribe, and I started saying, okay, maybe I'm your mother-in-law. Right? I'm just always willing to help, and I'm here just feeling in here, doing fun things, and this is why I'm here. But now, my time is starting to be scarce. Probably you know that, and I don't have a family, but I work a lot. So I have to make a decision, why am I still here? And I'm still here because I'm learning a lot. By everything I'm doing, I'm learning a lot. And you are project managers, and a project manager is a leader. You must be a leader. So you must communicate. I guess you all know that you can learn here, but you can do a lot of things that you can take a lot of roles. You can be a VP education where you are learning a lot of skills that you can later on apply in the project management environment. I've been a project manager myself for a few years, so I know what it is. And you can take many other roles, like Pablo, or like me, or like Deepak. That's the extreme case, right? You can really make a long career about leadership where you can set your own goals every year and say, okay, this year I'm going to learn this skill. This year I'm going to practice this skill. And every time I do something in Toastmasters, I'm going to try to put this into practice, or I'm trying to get this back from the people. And this is something unique. And this is, I guess, one of the reasons why this club, this is a corporate club, you know that? You know that in Toastmasters we have two kinds of clubs. The community ones, they are the ones in the bar with the beer. And the corporate clubs, they are the ones with the projectors, with the nice tables, white normally, with the nice chairs, and with this setup of theater. There the theater is more like round, and we are like this, and we are almost waiting the meeting ends so that we can have the beer. So, and we have an issue because corporate clubs, sometimes they disappear. But this one is still up and running and healthy. And I see many faces that I've been seeing for a long time. Patricia, And we've done a lot of things together. We have done projects together, right? You were the workshop manager in the district conference that I was co-leading. And it makes sense that this club exists. It makes sense that this club for project managers exists, that it makes sense that you are interested in this. It makes sense that the community for project managers in Madrid have a club within their association. Because this is fit for purpose. And there should be more, by the way. Just in case you want to create some clubs in Albacete, for instance, that would be a perfect location for it. Because it makes sense. Because you have networking, you learn leadership, you learn public speaking, and you have a lot of opportunities to practice what you already know how to do. Maybe because you read papers in the weekend about project management, but you can put them in practice here doing events, organizing meetings or whatever. And that's the reason why we are celebrating today, and that's the reason why Deepak came to this club and didn't go to today what we have to Nova. Because corporate clubs that last for some years and is something special. It's really what we think Toastmasters is the best in. Because people that come in just for the beer, they also leave. Because they meet someone and they both leave, so we lose 2 members in a row. That has happened. If they don't become division director, and either they go into the leadership together, or sometimes they make other decisions. This is why we are here, to celebrate that 5 years ago. I remember that this was the last club that was chartered in my year of area director. And I remember that my last speech as division director was coming here to the birthday, to the first anniversary, well, here to the EAA. And I remember that I explained what the area, division, and district was, which I should do it again, but I'm not going to do it.
Saturday.
Exactly. Exactly. On Saturday there is a training. You can go there and learn why I'm called the district director and why he's called the division director and why I was area governor, because that's internal politics in Toastmasters. But this is not the moment. This is the moment to celebrate the Toastmasters PMI is here, that you are here, that you are all growing, that many faces have been here for a long time, and many others will join soon. And we will keep learning from each other, and because this is why we want this to exist. Because I learn from Joaquin, I learn from Patricia, I learn from everyone I work and interact, and the more you are, the more we learn. So I want to welcome the international president to the stage.
Then there was light.
Give me enlightened.
Incidentally, my name Deepak, in Hindi, it's a Hindi word, Deepak, and it literally means light. So, yeah, it actually means light. So I was quite happy, when I suddenly saw this all very brightly lit.
It was all prepared.
There you go. Well, Nacho, our district director here, said it all about why PMI is being recognized with a corporate award for the support that PMI has provided to its members to become a part of the Toastmasters Club in the organization. So the PMI Madrid Toastmasters Club indeed has achieved a lot in its 5 years of existence. Clearly, it has produced many leaders and has continued to support its members all through these years, as I can see from the faces of the people out here in this room. But you must also understand that this corporate recognition is not given out to very many companies or very many clubs. This is a very limited reward or award or recognition which is provided. Every year about a handful, maybe about 50 or 70 corporates are selected for the purpose of this recognition. And it's only when an international director or an international officer visits a district that these corporate recognition awards are conferred and are presented. So you're one of the fortunate organizations to be receiving this corporate recognition. And I would say it's not good fortune alone. It's all the support that you provided is the reason why you have been selected for this purpose. I'd like to invite who's going to be receiving the award? Mr.
Iris Rosales.
Iris Rosales. Yeah. Congratulations, ma'am. It's my honor and my privilege to be presenting this trophy to you. It says Toastmasters International recognizes PMI Madrid chapter for enhancing employee engagement through continuing support of the Toastmasters communication and leadership programs presented in January 2020.
Thank you very much for all the work you have done for us. Can we take a picture of all of us?
Yeah, of course. If you want to do, you are the leader.
No, I think it's a good
It's a
way
good
to
moment.
celebrate.
Yeah, of course.
Congratulations.
Even other people can come here.
Déjame ellos hablar fuera.
You can do like
Where pictures are taken as well. Say Toastmasters where pictures are taken.
There are very many things that happen in Toastmasters. Toastmasters where managers are here.
Normally,
Tienes que poner un poquito más.
Se ve. ¿Se ve?
Perfecto. Así. Smile, kiss, or sex. It's up to you. Okay.
A tu selfie también. Dentro de poco Toastmasters.
¿Cómo lo hacemos?
Thank you very much, Iris.
Thank you.
The president of PMI.
Congratulations again.
Okay, fellow Toastmasters and friends and guests, let's close the meeting. So, there is a sentence from Mark Twain, or at least people say that Mark Twain said that, and he said that preparing an impromptu speech usually took him a lot of time and effort. And this is what happened with this impromptu meeting. It took a lot of time and effort, especially from Raúl, but also from the PMI board of directors who supported him, PMI volunteers, Toastmaster volunteers, current and former PMI Madrid members and leaders. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And let's go for beers.